Quickly, describe a newspaper ad for Ranma 1/2 from the 90s. Go!
It's got a picture of Ranma, a picture of Akane, and they are in a fighting pose. And then there's like the text, exotic fighting action, anything goes martial arts. Only 65.95.
Alright. Could be a bit weirder. Have you ever seen the American cover for the Super Nintendo fighting game?
I have, yes. It is a very strange art style.
Yeah. So just picture that. I don't know what to do. Don't know what to do. Yapapa. Welcome everyone to Don't Know What to Do. It is, of course, your favorite Ranma 1/2 podcast. You know that. And you also know that I am your host, Elena/Hedgie, depending on your level of familiarity with me. Depending on what level you are, really. And joining my party today, we have a classic member. Say hello.
Hi, I'm Pixel, they, them, and I'm a level 55 video game player.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say you maybe played more video games than me.
Yeah, that is likely to say that I've played more video games than most people by now.
True. I did give you a fairly low bar, but you've exceeded it. You've also probably got more experience with a genre that I wish I was more familiar with. That being classic RPGs.
Yeah, I've spent a lot of time in the past few years playing through the entire Final Fantasy mainline series, among other things. I could probably check my spreadsheet to say how many RPGs I've played, but it's a lot.
Yeah, that's probably one of the biggest differences between us, is that, see, you like to play good games, whereas I will spend hours trying to figure out how to emulate obscure MSX adventure games and then fail and just look up a Japanese streamer playing them. That's more my speed.
I mean, it's an interesting thing to do either way, because like I would never try to play an MSX game because it's too old for me. I grew up in the 90s, so like the NES is perhaps as far as I'm willing to go.
Yeah. Well, I believe that one was like late MSX stuff, which made it harder to emulate, but never mind. As my video game expert, I can't think of anyone better to bring in you for what I think is a fun treat, because usually when it comes to Ranma video games, I'm people's only source. Not a lot of people are gonna look into that stuff, and even if they could, they'd have to do what I did and just like translate it line by line with like your little phone auto translate that doesn't work most of the time. But I got you to play Ranma 1/2 Akaneko Dan Tekihiho. Translated as Treasure of the Red Cat Gang. And when I say translated, I mean fan translated. Because this is pretty much the only Ranma game that got a proper fan translation. Technically one of the fighting games also got one, but like that's a Super Nintendo fighting game. There wasn't a lot of text to translate there.
What's interesting is that I already had within my collection that game, but I had two versions of it. The anime version, the manga version, which I didn't really like try to boot yet. I don't know which, because you did send me a patch, basically, and I don't know if it's the manga or anime version you sent me, but...
Okay, I didn't know there were two different fan translations. Is that how they're labeled? Anime and manga?
Yeah. Yeah, Ranma One Half Treasure of the Red Cat Gang anime version and manga version. Like I said, I never booted them, so I've never checked them out.
Now I'm super curious what the difference is there. Especially since there are times in this game when I noticed it went back and forth between trying to match like the localization of the English dub versus the English subs.
Mm.
That is interesting. Oh man, you sprung more research for me to do on this.
You're welcome.
But yeah, this is pretty much one of the few Ranma games that you listeners could play. And if you want to know my opinion on whether or not you should, maybe not.
I will concur with that opinion.
I made like a tier list of the various Ranma games when I finished them all. And this one ranked high. It was on the top tier, but that wasn't saying much. That was me going, this is a game. This is an actual RPG that plays like a normal Super Nintendo video game. And you can play it.
Yeah, I definitely didn't enjoy it that much, or at least what I played. I didn't quite finish it. But it is better than Mystic Quest, so... maybe there is something worth playing there.
Yeah, I did get you to play. I was in the back of my head thinking of I wonder how far they're gonna get in, because I was trying not to prepare you mentally. I wanted to get proper thoughts, especially since we have different backgrounds with this genre. I feel I have more tolerance for bad RPGs, because again, you play games like Final Fantasy. Who wants to play good games when I have 30 obscure DS RPGs on my backlog that are probably, at least some of them, terrible? I also don't mind grinding. I can tune out.
Yeah, we should probably mention that this Ranma game actually has a very pro-grinding button in the fights. You can hold, I think it's Y, and you just go through the fight automatically with a funny cartoon fight cloud animation.
Yeah, which I think is one of the better auto battle animations, just the little cartoon fight cloud doing that. I have no idea how that mechanic works, because I assumed it just sort of calculates if everyone just hits attack, this is how the fight would go. But there were times when sometimes I'd have one enemy left and they're at half health, and I press the button, and then that one enemy hits two of my party members for half damage, and I'm like, what even is this?
I'll be honest, I didn't use that mechanic very much because I felt like using the special moves was more efficient.
Yes.
Because you do regen some ki as you walk around, which is conducive to using a lot of special moves in random encounters.
Yeah. So we'll get to more specifics about the game. But I think the best thing about this game is that I think it accidentally, I'm not playing devil's advocate here. I assume it's not on purpose, but I think they accidentally made a game that's very good at combating the various RPG isms of I can't use an ether. I only have 87 of them. What if I need it later?
Yeah, because in that one, there's no stacking for your items, so you always have to use your items, otherwise you don't have room for more items.
Yeah, I guess to describe this game, it's a pretty standard RPG. It's basically a Final Fantasy clone.
Yeah, like the original one.
Yeah, that is the other thing about it. This feels like an NES RPG, even though it's on the Super Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
There are some quality of life stuff where I'm by this point, this should be standard, but this is a little bit behind. So this might be, I don't know, this might be the meanest thing I have to say about this game. This game feels like it was made in RPG Maker.
Ooh, I don't agree. But I think I'm going to be harsher than you and say that I think if had been made in RPG Maker, it would have been a bit smoother looking. Because I feel like the art in the game is pretty rough for an SNES RPG.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, to be more specific, this one's less of a joke. This feels like the team had to make a Ranma game and they already had like a half-finished generic RPG that they scrapped and they decided to bring sprites from that into this project.
Right, and that would be why they're fighting the Red Cat Gang, which has no basis in the manga or anime.
Yeah. After like the first 20 minutes, there's like next to nothing Rama related outside of the characters. They may as well have been isekai'd into some kind of RPG world.
Yeah.
A lot of the enemies are like various like Japanese mythical figures. You're fighting tengus, you're fighting kitsunes, you're fighting exploding snowmen, you know, the usual. And like I guess that's kind of fitting for Ranma, but for the most part, like, yeah, you're doing a very standard NES era Final Fantasy Dragon Quest type clone, but the characters just happen to be the Ranma cast who have been dumped into this land. And you do a very, very basic RPG quest, and there's not a lot unique to it, except I think the key system, like I said, I think it's an accident, but I think it accidentally makes the most interesting thing about this game.
Yeah, I agree
because
with that.
instead of magic, you've got your key bar, which they never give you numbers. So I don't know if this is true, but it feels like your max key never increases. Which means whether you're fighting the first boss or the final boss, the number of times you can use a move is the same. It doesn't matter where you're fighting. Akane can only heal the party like 3 or 4 times before she runs out of ki. That's it. And that's never gonna change. And your key management is just a constant thing. But as you said, you regenerate ki rather quickly. You get like a quarter of a bar back at the end of each battle, and you get a tiny, tiny little sliver every time your character attacks or defends.
Yeah.
It feels like you are constantly micromanaging the key meter, and also it makes battles very snappy. I feel like almost every boss fight ended in 5 turns. Either the boss kills you instantly or you kill it in like 5 rounds.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something that, like, I remember, I think it's Gembu, the boss for the first part of the treasure. That was probably the hardest one I fought, and that one was tricky, but like, the trick basically was to use your best moves for like the first 2 or 3 rounds, and then just like spam some attack items that you got in the dungeon before fighting them, and basically that works well. And it's like, it feels intentional how that works out. So it's like,
yeah,
it's teaching you how to use these attack items and to use them when you can.
Yeah, pretty much every single boss fight I finish with like my entire party is like completely out of resources. I'm out of ki, I'm out of attack items. If I have to survive like 2 or 3 more rounds, I'm probably dead, and that's the exact moment that you finish the fight. And I think that part does feel intentional, maybe. Like, the fights are very well paced because of the key system. Because it's not like other RPG where, like, your max MP increases. This is just what you get. This one bar never changes. And even the numbers don't get much bigger. Like, at the start of the game, you have, like, 60 to 90 max HP. And then by the end, you've got characters in the, like, 2 to 500 range. It's not a huge escalation. And your key... most of the moves you get very quickly. Like, by like the second dungeon, most of your party members have all their moves unlocked. It's just a matter of, well, this move is super powerful and will just wipe out the entire group of enemies but it costs like 3/4 of Ranma's bar. So like, if you're gonna use that, the next fight, you're gonna have to work around that, because that's what the key really does, is like, whatever you did the previous fight heavily influences how you approach whatever the current fight is.
Yeah. I do want to say that it's pretty interesting how you can get like ether equivalents pretty easily, though. Like, they're not that pricey to the items to increase to replenish your key. So that kind of incentivizes you to use them more often than you would like in Final Fantasy. Like, you can't find ethers very easily in the early game, but in Ranma, I think around the second area, you have access to the regen the full key meter item like easily.
Yeah. Yeah, this game is very generous with its shops. Like, you can buy, like, 4-party heals in, like, the second or third to last town. And, like, the game's just like, yeah, what else are you going to be spending your money on? If you want the items, just take them. Because as you mentioned before, the items don't stack. And also, you have limited inventory. You can only carry 2 pages worth of items.
Yeah.
So, like, this game very much incentivizes you to just like, no, just use your items. Who cares if those are ethers? You can buy more later.
Yeah.
Just use the items, and if you don't, you're gonna struggle. And I know this because I actually played through this game twice, for reasons I'll get into later. But I will confirm, on my second playthrough, I was 10 levels lower, and yet I still beat the final boss in like half the time, because that time I knew, like, I'm doing the final dungeon, just buy all the items. Just use the items. Don't do what you do in other RPGs where you try and save your items, or just be like, well, I could use a move here, but I want to save my key, because who knows when a boss fight will happen. And like, if you start a boss fight with no key, you're screwed.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but like on my second playthrough, I knew where the boss fights were, and I had a better understanding of like the item economy, and it just went so much more smoothly. Cause yeah, this game really wants you to just like, no, spend your key, use your items, don't worry, you're gonna get those back very quickly. And I kind of respect that, cause you know, there's a lot of old RPGs that instill those lessons in us. They're like, a lot of modern RPGs don't have these problems, but we learn them anyways. Think of how many people grew up playing like PS1 survival horror games that to this day will never use items in any game.
I mean, you might need them later to not use again.
Yeah, you can't buy ethers. You can only get them in treasure chests. So you can't use it now. And Rama's just like, no, you can buy them. They're right over there.
Yeah, pretty much. One thing I wish it was more clear though about is the equipment and like the accessories. Oh, pretty much all of them don't say what they do at all, if they even do anything at all. Like, I know there's an item called the white guitar. I have no idea what it does.
Yep.
I looked up at GameFAQs at a guide, and the guide does not know what it does. Or if it does, it doesn't say what it does. So that's kind of like the same. Does it do anything? Who knows? I kind of wish I did.
There are more than one, not even, like, the white guitar, you found that, and you even told me about it, and I'm like, yep, but I also knew there's multiple of those. Just weapons that you find in a treasure chest that seemingly have 0 stats and don't do anything. And this game does not give you item descriptions at all, unless you're in a shop.
Yeah.
So you better remember what everything does, or have your Super Nintendo manual open, telling you what every single thing does, including your skills, because nothing tells you what those do. You kind of need to look up a guide if you want to play this, especially since the fan translation doesn't translate the moves. They're just the Japanese names for the moves, so you can't even go off of that. You just have to look up at the guide and know what some of them do.
I mean, it's a name. Like, you wouldn't want them to translate Ranma's name.
True, but like, they're move names, and some of them do have translations in the anime, because some of them are moves that the characters use in the original series. And those sometimes got translations, sometimes they didn't. They were a little inconsistent, probably for that reason, because they're names. But still, if you don't know, nothing in the game is gonna tell you. And I assume, I didn't think this until you suggested it, but I do assume now that all the moves are in the manual somewhere. 'Cause the two guides I found both mention that apparently Akane learns a move at level 99?
Yeah, a big punch.
Yeah, which is funny because no one else learns any moves past level 20. But apparently, at level 99, Akane learns a move that just insta-kills everything, and it costs 0 ki, which, like, is silly because, like, by the end of the game, you're, like, level 50s or 60s. So by level 99, you're probably already one-shotting everything. It's just a weird, silly thing that I don't think anyone would have discovered unless it was written down in the manual.
Yeah, although I do want to say that I like that there's comedy in the gameplay itself. Like, for instance, the white guitar. Like, I'm sure this is like a joke that is in the game as like
Maybe.
gameplay. I don't understand the joke, but I'm pretty sure it's a joke. I'm pretty sure it's not meant to be used.
Yeah, cause when I say Ranma has just been isekai'd into RPG world, I mean it. Almost every dungeon is some variant of like a cave or a castle tower or something with torches on the wall, like very traditional Dragon Quest dungeons where you open up treasure chests and you find a sword or nunchucks. But then, as you say, at one point you open up a treasure chest and you pick up a guitar. And what does that do? Nothing. Okay.
Yeah. Also, I do want to say that I really enjoyed one thing about the game that I don't think comes up very often. You have access at the start of the game to 2 key items that take up 2 spots in your very limited inventory. One of them is a tea kettle, and one of them is a wash basin. One of them splashes your character with cold water, one with hot water, and like you use that to change forms. And so far, I only found one use for it. It's like a puzzle where you need to go into the woman's bath in a hot springs to access like an evil lair. And for that, you need to make Ranma a girl and what's his name?
Ryoga?
Yeah, Ryoga needs to be a pig, so you need to splash both of them with cold water, I think. And it's like, that's kind of clever. And if you forget to splash Ryoga with hot water, it basically makes him into a pig form that's very weak.
Yeah.
But I don't think it like you really use that as much as it could have.
Yeah. So yeah, they do let the characters transform, and it varies. When I got to that part where they force you to turn Ryoga into a pig, I was like, ooh, are they gonna force me to do like a fight or two with Pig Ryoga where he's heavily handicapped? But then like, no, you go into the next room and it's like, well, you're in the dungeon now, you can just immediately splash him with hot water and he's fine.
Actually, it's even worse than that. You can splash him with warm water in the bath, and unless you talk to one of the women there, you don't get kicked out.
Oh, I didn't even know you could go in the baths.
Yeah, I mean, you need to go in the bath to go to a tunnel, but if you're in the bath as male Ranma and male Ryoga, no one, like, notices until you talk to them.
Okay, because, like, yeah, the first time you go in, they just instantly kick you out. And I guess if you could just be in the room, which is funny. For the record, they do that puzzle like 3 times, and those are the only 3 times where you have to transform a character.
Oh, that's a shame. I was like super expecting like some boss fight to like have like, oh, I can splash with warm or cold water depending on my attacks, and then that turns into Girl Ranma, and maybe it turns Ryoga into a pig, but maybe it turns Girl Ranma into Boy Ranma, and Pig Ryoga into Guy Ryoga. But like they don't seem to do that.
No, they only do it 3 times, and it's the same joke all 3 times of they need to enter an area that only women are allowed. So Ranma has to be in girl form, and all the other boys have to be in animal form, depending on which one's in the party at the time. But it at least leads to a funny joke the 3rd time, cause The second time, it's like, okay, time for this again. And the third time, you're told before you get there, like, oh, this is an all-women village, no men allowed. So you go in, and there's a guard standing there, and you're like, well, I know what to do before I even talk to anyone. And you do it, and it's like, oh, right this way, miss. And Ranma starts moving, it's like, just watch out for that geyser there. It's like, what? And then just the geyser splashes. and they're like, hey, wait a minute. And then your party gets arrested, and it's just a goofy moment. And I think that was at least a fun payoff.
Yeah, that sounds like it.
But yeah, it is interesting how the transformations work. So there are 6 party members in the game. Akane has no transformations. Ranma can be boy or girl Ranma. And there is no difference whatsoever. You can be either or, meaning I never had to turn Ranma back into a boy.
Okay.
In fact, the second puzzle, the second time they do that puzzle of only women are allowed, my party members were just Akane and Shampoo. So I solved it without even knowing. Like, there's a guy, it's like, right this way, ladies. And I'm like, oh. And then just to test it out, it's funny because I turned Ranma back into a boy and talked to the guy, and even though I was on the other side, he acted like I was trying to get in, so he was blocking me from leaving.
Oh no.
But yeah, Ranma's transformation doesn't matter outside of those moments where you're forced to be a girl. Shampoo? I was very surprised to find out there are no differences between human and cat Shampoo.
Not even battle?
Nope. You could just have her be a cat the entire game and it affects nothing. It does not affect her stats, it does not affect her moves, nothing. The only reason I didn't keep her in cat form is because it just kind of looked weird to have these humans and then there's a cat following them. And also, this game does something that I think we need to bring back. We need to bring back RPGs where the party does a literal victory dance at the end of the fight.
I mean, when did they stop doing that?
I don't know, but I loved every time you finish a fight, the characters just raise their arms like, yeah,
Yeah.
like, woo. And Shampoo's was my favorite because her default pose, she's got like a leg raise, like in a little like karate pose. So when she's doing the dance, her leg also moves to do that alongside the dance. So like, yeah, just keep her in human form. No need for her to be a cat.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably a good bonus.
And then you get to the other characters. So as stated, Ryoga can't use any of his moves. And his whole purpose is that he's the tanky, heavy-hitting character, basically. So like, he can't do anything other than a basic attack. You like, there's no reason to ever have him be a pig. Which is why I found it surprising that they force you to make him a pig, but then they let you immediately undo that. And I guess you didn't get far enough to get Moose or Genma in your party.
I think I got to Shampoo the second time you get her in the party.
Yeah, eventually you get them. They're less nerfed. So Moose, he gets a bunch of buff spells where he can raise attack and defense and do stuff. And he can still do those as a duck. He gets one move where he pulls out claws and does like a Wolverine attack that he can only do in human form. But like, if he's in your party, he's not your main attacker. So like, you can have him in duck form all you want. And Genma, he's exactly the same, except he gets one move that you can only use in panda form, where he pulls out his little panda signs and he draws aggro. And I think that's cute.
Oh, that's cool.
So absolutely, I did that, and I always kept him in panda form, mainly because it felt weird to have this party full of teenagers, and then there's Rama's dad. There's just this bald middle-aged man. And I'm like, let's make him a panda. He needs to be a panda for this.
That sounds like it's kind of a theme for Genma.
Yeah. Also, on the subject of things that do nothing, another weird thing about this game is it doesn't tell you what moves do, and that includes enemy moves. So sometimes an enemy will do a move that's maybe meant to confuse you or poison you, but if it misses, it doesn't say anything. It's just this character did this, and then their turn just ends. And if it does hit you, it doesn't say your character got poisoned or confused. You just get a little, like, question mark animation pop up over your character, and that's the only indicator of what's happening. And I bring this up because Genma has a move that's basically that. It's basically, he does a move, and it says Genma used this move, and then the turn ends. And none of the guides online know what that move does. It seems to do nothing.
Interesting. I do know that, like, Ryoga has, like, a paralysis attack as, like, one of his starting moves.
Yeah.
And it annoyed me because there's no indication if an enemy is paralyzed. So it's just like you have to figure out that they're not attacking. And from what I can understand, it can hit bosses too, but it's not clear how often it hits. So it's like, it's a confusing move to use, despite being a paralysis move.
Yeah, it's unclear, like, what you miss in pretty much any RPG. If you use a status move on a boss, you have to play the game of, like, is the boss immune to status effects, or did I just miss?
Yeah.
And that is an even bigger problem in this game when it gives you zero information.
Yeah.
Because I did manage to confuse a couple of bosses, and that is a huge game changer when you can make the boss just attack themselves in confusion for like 2 or 3 turns.
Mm-hmm.
But again, like, if you miss, there's no indication. Ryoga just does his animation, and then his turn just ends. So, if that's your first time doing it, you're like, did it work?
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of bad design, I would say. I do wonder if the studio that made the Ranma RPG did any other RPGs before and after.
Well, I'm glad you asked, because I did some homework. So, anyone who listened to the episode where I talked about the history behind the music production behind the series, they might be sensing a pattern here. So, something I feel that not enough people understand yet, companies are big, and they're almost never just one company. It's often a collaboration between multiple companies, especially when it comes to video games. The people in charge of distribution and publishing are not the same people in charge of licensing, which are also not the same people in charge of the actual development of the game. But see, it's interesting because this game, according to the logo at the start, was developed by Rumiksoft, which is noteworthy because the word Rumik is basically the catch-all for Rumiko Takahashi's works. She released multiple anthologies with the word Rumik in it, like Rumik World, etc. But yes, the Rumiksoft is what is on paper the name of the team that made this game. So this is also the name of the developer of various other Ranma games, including the Super Nintendo fighting games, and also the PS1 fighting games. Basically all the games that weren't visual novels or Game Boy games.
Huh.
Except, as I said, the name Rumik is applied to, like, Rumiko Takahashi's works. It's basically who's working on the Ranma game, we're calling them Rumiksoft. So the name Rumiksoft doesn't really mean much. It's just sort of a catch-all term for all the people that worked on this Ranma game, which includes multiple companies. Pony Canyon, who was in charge of, like, distribution and licensing of music stuff for the anime series, published various Ranma games. I guess they had a video game publishing division, which I did not read anywhere in their Wikipedia page. I also found the names of multiple companies listed under the various Ranma games, most of them in charge of publishing and distribution, and none of those Wikipedia pages listed their involvement with video games either. A couple did, but, like, a lot of this information is just, like, a lot of people worked on these games besides just the programmers, and it all just kind of gets lumped under one name of Rumiksoft.
Huh. Now I'm kind of like wondering and if you'll let me Wikipedia something, I wonder now if there was this Inuyasha RPG on the PS2.
Oh.
Secret of the Cursed Mask, I think it's called, and it was an RPG. So I'm kind of wondering if that's also by Rumiko or if it's like something else. So that was actually by Bandai. So I guess for the PlayStation 2 era, Bandai ended up like buying getting the license for Rumiko Takahashi's Inuyasha. That's Rumiko Takahashi, right?
Yes. She made Inuyasha, yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Also, they might have just dropped, the whole Rumixoft thing as well. Of note, I did find out, there is another company that is credited under, various Ranma games, including the RPGs and the fighting games. And that's Atelier Double.
Yeah, I saw that name. I couldn't find it like on the game itself, like on the title screen, but I know I read it when I was looking up at guides and information on the game.
Yes. And looking them up, they are video game developers. So I think those are the parts of Rumixoft that are in charge of, like, actually making the game. Because Rumixoft seems to just encompass everyone who touched this game, including distribution and publishing. Because some of these games focus on, like, distributing, like, toys and trading card games. And I'm like, okay, those probably didn't get involved in the production of the game itself, but they're still credited as having had some part in all of this.
Yeah.
But I think Atelier Double is the name of the team that made these games, because they also worked on other Ranma games and a whole bunch of obscure games. I have not heard of most of them, but yeah, there's a proper team there. They made Hello Kitty No Magical Museum, which, like, wow, big names there. But yeah, that seems to be the team behind this. And again, as far as I know, there's this gigantic list of games they made, and I don't know any of those. There's probably RPGs in there somewhere.
Okay, so I'm looking at their page on Moby Games, and they're credited on Ultima 4 Quest of the Avatar. I'm guessing a translation or a port, maybe?
Yeah, I'm seeing that.
I'm seeing also the Bard's Tale 2, that's an RPG. But those are like Western RPGs, like really crunchy ones.
Ah.
So not at all the type of RPG that Ranma 1/2 Akinokodan Tekihiho is. So that is interesting.
Who knows?
Oh my goodness, they made Umihara Kawase.
Oh, they did?
That's interesting. They're credited for that. I'm not sure if they're like the main dev or no. I guess they probably just did like a port.
I am seeing them on a different website, GDRI, Game Developer Research Institute.
Oh.
And for Umihara Kawase, it's in parentheses, sound cooperation, and then second brackets, driver? Question mark?
Interesting.
I love when a wiki list has question marks in it.
Oh my goodness. Okay, this is a big deal. In 2000, they were involved with Quest, Brian's Journey. You know, the spin-off for Quest 64. Apparently they developed the game Brian's Journey.
Ooh. Yeah, this is great. I should have thought to show you this list sooner.
Published by Imagineer and Sun Corporation. And as everyone knows, Quest, Brian's Journey is a spin-off of Quest 64, which is notoriously a game that was not finished and ruined my childhood.
Yeah. They also apparently did some programming assistance for the Boku no Natsu Yasumi games.
Oh, I see that too, yeah. Interesting. Oh, I think I found the RPG that they repurposed from Ranma.
Oh?
It's called The Last Battle. It came out in December 94 on the SNES, which is, I think, it's just a year after Ranma, which was October 22nd, 93. and it looks like it has a very similar art style.
Yeah, I'm looking at footage. The like the battles are a different art style, but like I am noticing there are also meters there, similar to the key meter in Ranma. Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe they did reuse some stuff.
Ooh, it looks like basically they learned from Ranma and made something way better because like I'm looking at screenshots, it actually uses Mode 7 for the overworld map. The battle scenes look way cooler. The graphics have the same style, but like look much better. I'm gonna need to try the last battle now.
Maybe. Cause yeah, again, this game feels like an NES RPG. It feels slightly outdated even for its time. So it would make sense if that's just like, well, this is a licensed tie-in. Let's just learn some stuff, and then after that, they're like, let's make our own RPG, and maybe this one's good.
Yeah, maybe it's good.
So yeah, I suppose that's like the gameplay overview. Do you have any other comments on like the gameplay or just general thoughts on the game?
Gosh, there was one thing I wanted to say and I don't remember it anymore.
Oh no.
I guess it wasn't important.
Oh well, maybe you remember later. But yeah, as I said, you guys at home can play this game too. You maybe shouldn't. Hearing me summarize it is probably a better experience. But yeah, it is something you can play if you have a tolerance for especially licensed RPGs that are they're just kind of okay. This is certainly one of them. And as I said at the start, this is a proper game. And like you can play it. It's not like a Game Boy game that makes you do little fighting game sections where the hitboxes don't work. But yeah, I suppose we can start by summarizing what is this game actually about. So the general plot, as the title implies, there is a red cat gang, and it is basically the intro of the game. It reveals the Jusenkyo guide accidentally releases a cat ghost, and then he just runs away. He's just like, that's not my problem, I guess. And this cat ghost is going around possessing people, which is why you fight various RPG villains with no coherent theme. It's just random people, which again, that's why it feels kind of RPG Maker-ish. And that's the main plot of the game.
Well, I would say that an important thing is that the Red Cat Gang is trying to revive and make immortal their leader. And to do so, they need to basically get a wish-granting object. And that gets Ranma's attention immediately because, oh, a wish-granting object. Surely that'll cure my curse.
Yeah, it is explained. So, of note, I've never brought him up before. There is a character in the Ranma series that is a cat spirit. It's not this cat. It's a different cat, but this one looks like a palette swap of him. Malmalin the cat spirit from Ranma is a character, and in this game, there's just another cat spirit named Kamusaru, and he's literally the same design but purple. And the story given early on by Cologne is that Kamusaru at some point used the Star Crystal, which sounds like a MacGuffin from a Mario RPG. The Star Crystal can grant wishes, and Kamusaru used it to become an immortal god creature, basically, and is super powerful. So, to clarify, Kamusaru has returned in cat spirit form. But yeah, he now wants to collect the treasures because after the Star Crystal, after he was defeated by a brave warrior, the Star Crystal was shattered into pieces, and those pieces used to create the Peach Gem, the Sakura Sword, and the Forest Mirror. And this is such a generic RPG plot. I can't say much about it.
I mean, I do want to say that it's interesting that it's set in China, and you're getting the regalia for the Japanese Imperial regalia, and that's like, you're supposed to be in China, but you're gathering Japanese stuff.
And there's a bunch of Japanese mythological figures as the random enemies. In fact, I don't even know if this game is set in China, because again, you just wake up in RPG world, and I guess it would make sense to be in China. That's where Kamusaru came from. And later on, you meet, I think the only named, like, NPC. Oh, no, wait, no, because there's also later NPCs with Japanese names, but you do meet a character named Linlin at some point. So, like, I don't know where you are. It should be China. That's what makes most sense. But who knows? They never say that. Ranma just wakes up and he's in what appears to be an RPG village. So I've taken notes. I'm just gonna go through various highlights of the game, just sort of summarize it bit by bit. Feel free to interrupt me if you remember anything else, or if I refresh your memory on something you wanted to say. So, I said that, like, after the first 20 minutes, Ranma may as well have been isekai'd. Because the first 20 minutes is like, this is Ranma 1/2. The game opens, you are in the Tendo household. It does a cute little intro where the family's eating breakfast. Akane wakes up Ranma by dumping water on him. And then they spar, so you can have your little tutorial fight. And then a bunch of hooligans show up and kidnap Genma. Because they're looking for tough people. And this is interesting for reasons we'll get to. But it is worth noting that after they leave, you can talk to Akane's dad, and he's like, well, why didn't they kidnap me? I'm tough. Aren't I hip, kids?
I love the face that he does, like, in that scene. Like, they give his sprite, like, a super huge head to show that he's really angry, like, kind of like in the like he does in the anime, I think.
Yes, he does that face, and he just kind of stays there, because as soon as you leave this house, you're never coming back. So you go outside, Ranma and Akane trying to stop these weirdos that kidnapped his dad, and here's where we get to one of the reasons I replay this game. Because this game is very, very linear. I think you played enough to notice that.
I sure did.
Yeah, but there are several parts where, like, you can just walk to the next dungeon or the next town and stuff. And I didn't, because the game is so linear, I just enter the first thing that I see, and that's where the plot is. But I kept getting curious, well, what happens if you do things out of order? I saw things that made me very curious later on in the game. So I played a second time to refresh my memory and take these notes. And the first thing I did was, there's like a mini dungeon in town that isn't really obvious you can go in there until after plot happens, and a character's like, they went there, and it's just a bunch of pipes that don't even look interactable, but if you touch them, you're in a cave now. It's like, oh, I didn't know this was here. But I was like, well, I now know that that's there, so what if I go there first? And the answer is nothing. You can go to the end, and there's just no, the cutscene doesn't trigger because you're not supposed to be here yet. I'm like, okay, good to know. Good to know. So the intended thing is you're supposed to talk to Cologne. And I said that this game is like, the fan translation is inconsistent sometimes. And this leads to one of my favorite interactions, where Ranma is like, some weirdos calling themselves the Red Cat Gang kidnapped my dad. And Cologne is like, oh, the Akaneko-dan? Like, she says the Japanese name instead of Red Cat Gang. And it's just this huge, like, Keikaku meets plan moment, where as soon as the dignified old lady is saying it, she's saying the proper Japanese name.
That's a good gag, yeah. I did chuckle at that one.
I'm curious if there even is a gag in the original, because, like, Akaneko-dan just means Red Cat Gang. That's just what Akaneko-dan translates to. So I don't know, like, I feel like that might have been an accident, maybe? I don't know.
It could be like, oh, you know, Ranma is, like, saying it in, I don't know, like, phonetically, and then, like, Cologne is like, oh, you mean, and then she said it, like, properly, maybe?
Maybe. There is another thing where, so Ukyo is in this game, and she sells you okonomiyaki. That is her one role. She is a recurring shop where you can buy healing items from. And she switches between calling Ranma Honey and Ranchan. So it's again switching back and forth between the dub and sub nickname that she has for Ranma. Sometimes even within the same sentence.
That one I didn't actually notice, honestly.
Oh, yeah, she does have that. Like, I think that, like, whenever you exit her shop, she says something like, "Hey, Ranma, honey, don't forget, I'm here to help, Ranchan." Like, she just says his name twice, but both times she says it differently. And on the subject of Ukyo, I feel bad for her, because as I said earlier, by the end of the game, they're just letting you buy full heals in the store. You could just buy, like, these mystical golden peaches that restore your party to full health in a normal shop. So, not only does Ukyo become obsolete, they don't even put her in the last 2 towns.
Oh no.
Cause she's got her little cart that she follows around, so she's in every other town. And you can buy healing items from her, but then she just disappears. And on top of that, as the game goes on, they start putting, like, weapon shop and armor shops and item shops in the same building. Like, you'll enter a building and there's 2 counters, one for weapon and one for armor, instead of 2 separate buildings. It feels like as time goes on, someone's like, it's kind of annoying forcing the player to go to, like, 3 or 4 different shops. Let's just put it all in one building. It's like, okay, but they didn't change it in the earlier towns, only the later ones. So anyways, when Ranma talks to Cologne, she gives the exposition of Kamusaru, the cat spirit. He used the star crystal, and now there's the 3 MacGuffins that need to be collected in order to restore him to full power, and that's what he's after. And on top of that, Kamusaru can hypnotize people. So that's what he's currently doing, is he's recruiting people into his army, and that is the Red Cat Gang. And as she explains this, more Red Cat Gang members show up, and they're like, "Hey, we heard a cool guy named Moose lives here. Where is he? We're gonna kidnap him." And this is noteworthy, because earlier they kidnapped Genma, because they're like, "We heard there's a tough guy here." And now they come for Moose, and they mention him by name. So clearly these people asked around to find out names, and I find it silly that they apparently haven't heard of Ranma. Nobody's asking, like, "Hey, where's this Ranma guy? Where can we kidnap him?" Because Ranma's in girl form at the start of the game. Akane wakes him up that way with the bucket. So they could have explained that's why they didn't notice who he was, but they don't even mention that. And later we find out that these goons work for a higher up goon named Yasha, who I guess he's just a misogynist, because he's not interested in kidnapping women. They're not tough. Because literally as they're leaving, like, Shampoo's like, "What about me?" It's like, you're good. You're just a girl. Who cares? So that's why they don't kidnap Akane or Shampoo or Ranma. But they do kidnap Genma and Moose. And also Ryoga immediately gets lost. So there's your party members. But yeah, they don't seem to want to kidnap women. But, like, I don't know. It seems weird that, like, I guess they never heard of Ranma.
I thought it was probably part of the joke that they didn't know who Ranma is. Because Ranma is, like, canonically pretty strong.
Yeah, it is silly. It could just be that they're just so incompetent that they somehow heard of Moose and Genma, but not Ranma. It is weird that they heard of Genma. Like, they went to the same house that Genma and Ranma live, but they only knew about one of them. But yeah, so these people ran off because the first obstacle of the game is a fence. And if you've watched a single episode of Ranma, you would know that Ranma does not care about fences. It's just silly. It's like if Mario's like, "Oh no, pipes, how am I gonna get past this?" So, the starting sequence ends by you going into the school and finding out that the principal has been brainwashed and has trapped the whole school in an airship. Not even like a modern day blimp. It's just an airship, like an RPG airship. It looks so silly. And then Ranma and friends, because at this point he's got Akane and Shampoo for the early parts, but then they all get knocked out, and Ranma wakes up in a cave somewhere, and then he comes outside, and he's just in some town in what, again, I could only assume is China.
I do want to specify, Ranma literally breaks out of his jail cell by punching through a wall, if I recall correctly.
Yes, he does. Like, the principal is like, well, we're gonna do stuff with everyone else, but Rama's trouble, so he just locks him in a cave. And literally, Rama just punches the wall and breaks out. It's not a problem at all. And yeah, Rama is just in some... like I said, at this point, he may as well have been teleported into an RPG world. I think it's supposed to be China, but who knows where it is? This is just RPG world. It's nothing but RPG villages and caves and dungeons with treasure chests in them. The first 20 minutes where you're running around Tokyo are like, yep, that's it. That's the only thing Ranma here. You could go to Dr. Tofu's and he'll heal you. You could talk to Ghost and Kugi at the school for a little joke. But as soon as Ranma gets knocked out and wakes up in RPG China, it is just a generic RPG world with no Ranma characters whatsoever. So yeah, that's the setup. And I guess from here the game is split up into various continents, I guess. I do like that the villages all have different, like, naming conventions. So, like, in the first continent, all the towns are named after fruit. You got, like, Strawberry Village, Peach Village. I think there's a Chestnut Village at some point.
Persimmon Village.
Yeah, Persimmon, that's another one. Alright, looking at my notes. Yes, something else that you probably would have noticed. It's not just items you get from treasure chests that are weird. The weapons you get in shops are so bizarre.
Oh, I didn't really notice that.
So, in the first area, when you're in Tokyo, you can get a weapon that's just for Akane, which is a hammer. Because, of course, she gets a hammer. At some point in this first, like, proper area, I think, like, the second town you find, you can buy claws, which can be equipped by anyone, or you can buy nunchucks that can only be equipped by Akane, and all three of these weapons have the exact same stats.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I did notice they had the same stats.
If you bought Akane's hammer in the first area, you could just keep that. There's no reason to buy these claws or this second pair of weapons that only Akane can equip. And this happens so often, and there'll be times when, like, here's a weapon that anyone can equip, and here's a weapon that only Akane can equip, and they both have the same stats, but the Akane exclusive weapon is more expensive.
Yeah, I noticed that.
And it's not like you can see these weapons anywhere, it's just what's on their equipment menu. So, like, there's no reason to get the more expensive weapon, unless, as we said, like, some weapons do literally nothing, but maybe they have another effect, but if they do, we don't know, because there's no item descriptions. Who knows what they do?
I mean, you don't need item descriptions, you can just go by feels, by vibes.
But yeah, so... this first area, very straightforward. It is huge. I spent like 20 minutes trying to fully explore the world map at getting into random battles, only to find out that the town that's like 5 feet from where you start is the only place of note. So yeah, on my second playthrough, I got through this a lot more quickly. But yeah, first thing that happens, Ranma's separated from his friends, but then he immediately runs into Ryoga, who's like, what? You let Akane get kidnapped? Dang it, Ranma. I'm gonna join your party and then we can fight. And you could talk to NPCs and find out that the Red Cat Gang has a base hidden in the bathhouse. So you have to do the puzzle to get into the women's bath and get into the secret base, which the base is just a generic cave. Doesn't look like anything, it is just a cave. Every single dungeon in this game will be a cave or a castle. They use those are the only 2 tile sets used until the final dungeon.
Ooh, that means there's 3 different tile sets? That's opulent.
They're not even like color swaps of each other. It's not even like, well, this cave is gray instead of brown or whatever. It's like, no, just, it's a cave or a castle. You like, we made this bathhouse, and then as soon as you walk into the secret entrance, you are suddenly in a cave where you fight ghosts or whatever. Because again, there's some weird enemy types in this game. I made the joke before, but I wasn't exaggerating. One of the enemies is literally an exploding snowman. There's, I have in my notes, I called it Garfield Wolf, Because the wolf enemy that you encounter in the overworld is like leaning back, and it looks like a Garfield character.
Yeah.
I'm glad you immediately recognized which one I'm talking about. But anyways, in the bathhouse, you then fight Yasha, the guy that I guess he's in charge of kidnapping people from Tokyo. He was in charge of that area, so you track him down, and he's got Akane with him, and then you fight him. And here's another thing that makes me think that these assets are from another game. Because, like, Yasha in the overworld looks like a sumo wrestler. And then when you fight him, he looks like some kind of, like, mythical Japanese god figure. With the big loincloth and stuff behind him. He doesn't look like a sumo wrestler.
Doesn't he have, like, a lantern?
Yeah. But also, this is the era where, like, overworld sprites and battle sprites can be very different. So I get it, but it is weird. Because again, the Red Cat Gang is just whoever got brainwashed by Kamusaru, which could be anyone. And I guess it is fitting for Ranma. It makes sense in a universe where there's just random martial arts of all kinds. Of course, there's a random sumo wrestler running around that got hypnotized. Of course, later on, you meet some guy who's, like, wearing this turtle armor with cannons on his back. Of course, they're all just weirdos. It makes sense.
I mean, I don't know, that's Genbu, who is based on a mythical beast. Like, that kind of makes sense, to me, at least.
Yeah, most of them are at least modeled after Japanese mythology in some way. But, like, that seems to be the only theme, which is again funny, given that Kamusaru is a Chinese spirit, and we're apparently supposed to be in China. But yeah, the first proper dungeon, and the fight against Yasha is probably one of the hardest, because you don't have any healers. It's just, did you buy items in town? You should get used to using items. This is the boss that teaches you to use everything you have. But yeah, you fight this sumo wrestler guy who doesn't look like a sumo wrestler anymore once you fight him. He's just a mythical figure, but then you beat him, and then Akane joins, and then you all go to the next area which is where the Peach Gem is hidden, the first of the 3 MacGuffins. And this is where it gets silly, cause like, you go to a town, and they're being attacked by Red Cat Gang members, and it's these like River City Ransom looking delinquent dudes with like a pompadour, and they work for Yasha's wife, who is a shrine maiden. And hold on, let me get some quotes. I do think this is at least kind of funny, cause like they call her Big Sis, like she's the boss of this gang, but it's this very classic shrine priestess lady. But then you talk to her, and she says things like, quote, "Tough titties, young dame." Other thing, at one point she says, "I'm not going to throw my life away for some piddly-ass burg." And I'm like, they're giving her weird dialogue enough that I bet that is in the original. That they probably did in the original give her some very, like, uncharacteristic dialogue. Like, this isn't what you would expect a shrine maiden to talk like. Especially, and again, she's hanging out with high school delinquents who you don't even fight. They just look like they're from a completely different game.
Wait, okay, so here's something I assumed those were like Ranma characters.
That is a thing I was curious about, cause I know some people played the fighting game without any experience with Ranma. I'm curious how many people played this game with no knowledge of Ranma, cause this game doesn't really explain much Ranma to you. If you don't know the Ranma characters beforehand, there's nothing indicating that these have history. They're given as much information as the Red Cat Gang. It's just random people. So like, I don't know, you meet some random high school delinquents, that seems like a Ranma character, right? I don't know.
I mean, it fooled me.
Yeah, and like at one point I was like, if this was someone's first experience with Ranma, would they know that Ryoga can turn into a pig?
I didn't.
Would they get stuck there?
I did.
So, like, yeah, it's like, I don't know, this seems, I'm really curious what this must be like to someone with no experience with Ranma. Because, like, yeah, you get the moments like that, where you're like, is this a Ranma character? You don't even fight them, they're just kind of here, like, we're supposed to know who they are. But, I don't know, they're just the people that work for, Rasetsume is her name. And you go fight her, and that's when you meet, Genbu. So, Yasha and Rasetsume, up to this point, the people you've been fighting, they're just lower goons. And those people have even lower goons, like the delinquent boys. But then we get to Genbu, and he's one of the 4 heavenly kings. I don't think anything says that these characters are the 4 heavenly kings until the end. I don't think anything indicates which of these Red Cat gang members are actually important. During dialogue, they mention, I did get confused for a bit because I remember when I played, I forgot that the cat ghost had a name because they just called him the Ghost Cat King, but also I forgot they said his original name was Kamusaru. But then they also start talking about Lord Bujin, who works for Kamusaru, but also we're meeting this guy named Genbu for the first time, and they just start giving you so many names at this point. And half of them, like almost none of them are Ranma characters. And it's like most of these characters, they just get like 2 scenes where they show up, and they're Super Nintendo villains. Again, the most notable thing about Rasetsume is that when you fight her, Akane gets mad at her, and she's like, tough titties, young dame, which is goofy. Also, when you beat Rasetsume, she's like, I am defeated. And then they just stand there, and if you talk to her, she's like, go away.
Yeah, that was a fun gag.
She just falls. She's just on the floor, like, can you hurry up? But yeah, after that, you follow Genbu to another town, where there's such a weird sequence. So you talk to this, miner, with an E, a man who mines, who builds a tunnel for you into the palace that Genbu has taken over. And it's really funny because you go in the tunnel, you climb up into the palace, which is just one room, because then you go into the basement and now suddenly you're in a cave. Similar to this is earlier when you, like, the delinquent guys are like, let's go to our hideout, and you go to the Red Cat Gang hideout, and they're talking about, oh man, as soon as we deal with this place, we're building a cabaret club, or whatever. But then you get to the hideout, and it's just an RPG tower with, like, stone bricks and torches. It's just so goofy that every location becomes an RPG dungeon. But yeah, the goofy thing here is you go into the palace, then into the basement, and then you find Genbu and fight him for the pearl, because that's one of the 3 MacGuffins. And then as you're leaving, the miner guy and this shrine priestess lady who is standing next to him are like, thank you for all your help, guys. And Rama's just like, no problem, Tatsuan, see ya, Gakko. I put that in my notes. That's the exact line. He's like, so long, guys. And the guy's like, bye, friend. And I'm like, who are these people? Literally, you walk into town and you talk to everyone, and one of these random NPCs is like, I'll make you a tunnel because these people broke into the palace. But as you're leaving, they're like, goodbye, friend. We'll never forget you for saving us. And Ranma knows their names. And I'm just like, okay. Tatsuan and Gakko, those don't sound like Chinese names. I don't know. But yeah, you get your first MacGuffin, and then the village people are like, cool. Anyways, we could get you a boat to the next continent, the next RPG area. And that seems to be where you stopped, correct? A little bit past that?
Yeah, I got to the first part of this second continent. You go to a cave, you meet Moose, and you get Shampoo to join your team. That's basically where I stopped.
Yeah, so this next major continent is where I really started to get curious if you could do things out of order. Because one of the first things I noticed is that in the very first town, you can buy weapons for Moose. Or you don't know you get Moose yet, but you can buy weapons that no one in your party can equip.
Oh.
And there are like 3 places of note, and you can go to them in any order. Because the place you said where you meet Moose, that's just a random cave. Nothing in the game tells you to go there. You just find Moose, who has of course been brainwashed, and is trying to now bring Shampoo in to be brainwashed as well. These characters still act like themselves even when brainwashed. It's just, Moose is like, I welcome my new cat overlord, and I want Shampoo to also be brainwashed along with me. That sounds cool. Being brainwashed is awesome. Why do people not want to be brainwashed? So, he's still being Moose, but you do fight him, and then you get Shampoo, and she's gonna be at, level 4, while everyone else is, level 12 or something. You're like, oh boy, one of those. So, that is one thing you could do. But I was really curious of, well, what if you don't go there? What if you just don't rescue Shampoo? Because an interesting thing about this game is that there's more than 4 party members, but you never get more than 4 party members at one time. The game's story just kind of swaps characters in and out. So, I'm curious, because another example is that there is a town up ahead. When you go there, you get a sequence where you see Genma, and Ryoga's like, there he is, and then he runs in the wrong direction, and Ranma's just like, I guess Ryoga's dumb, we're just gonna let him get lost. And that's the game's way of telling you, well, Ryoga's out of the party because you're about to get Genma. Because you then do a whole sequence where you have to sneak into this palace. But yeah, you fight Genma, and the joke is that Genma isn't even brainwashed. Rama's like, you have to fight it, Dad. This isn't you. You're being brainwashed. And Genma's like, no, I'm not. Have you seen these guys? They're super tough. I'm just working for them. It's like, Dad. It's like, don't worry, son. You taught me the error of my ways. I will now help you. And then he joins your party. Conveniently, after Ryoga has left. So this is what I mean by could you do things in weird orders? Because the game corrects you for it. You cannot get Genma without losing Ryoga. They set it up that way. And that made me curious. Could I get weird parties if I do things in different orders? Because the next area that you go to is so Genma's like, hey, by the way, they found the next MacGuffin in this one cave. And then you go there, and then you meet Moose again. And Moose is like, hey, Genma, you're a traitor. How could you? And Genma is just like, oh, if you think you can threaten me, you are absolutely correct. Sorry, son. And then you do a double boss fight against Moose and Genma. After which, Genma literally just pieces out. He's like, all right, you guys seem like you got this covered. I'm leaving. Genma is portrayed way more cowardly in this game. It's not the most flattering impression of him, but yeah, he joined your party, he does one dungeon with you, and then he leaves, but is immediately replaced by Moose. And this is the part where I was like, what if I did things in a different order? So on my second playthrough, I tried that, and I found out the game does not let you.
Oh?
So if you go to the final dungeon, you can just walk to the final dungeon of this continent. And I got into one random encounter, and they were 10 levels above me and almost one-shot me. But other than that, there's nothing stopping you from going in there. But you can't make any progress because it's high tide. There's just water blocking your way. You can't leave the first room. And it's funny because later on, when you get Genma, there's an NPC in that town who was like, oh, there's a cave up ahead, but be careful. Once it's high tide, you can't go further. But he only says that after you get Genma, aka after you're allowed to make progress. So it's not like you know that beforehand. If you go in that dungeon first, there's nothing in the game indicating that it's the tides and you have to wait. It just retroactively explains it after you've unlocked the dungeon. So you can't do that dungeon to get Moose early. Also, if you try and go after Genma before rescuing Shampoo, there's just an NPC outside the castle who's like, oh, our Panda King went for a walk or something. Come back later.
Huh. That's neat.
So you have to go into this random cave to rescue Shampoo first. And then once you get her, then you have to go get Genma and lose Ryoga. But then Genma joins, and then you do the dungeon, and then Genma leaves, and then Moose joins. And this just raises the question to me of, well, then why did you let me buy weapons for Moose in that first town? Because as soon as Moose joins the party, you get the chief guy who's like, hey, we got our boat here to take you to the next continent. So you're immediately taken to a new location. Oh, wow. But that was the sequence that made me wonder if you could do things out of order and get a weird party. I was like, could you skip Shampoo? Could I finish this area with, like, Ranma, Akane, Genma, and Moose? And the answer is no. And was it worth playing the game an entire second time to learn that? No. So there we have it. Worth noting, Bujin, Kamusaru's right-hand man, promised Genma that he would, cure Genma's panda form if he helped them.
Oh.
This Cat King ghost, he might want to take over the world, but, like, he gives you free dental.
I mean, it's tempting.
Right. But this is noteworthy because at one point we see Bujin's shadow, and he conspicuously looks like a very short old man who you might recognize and apparently shoots fireballs. And Ranma keeps going like, this guy looks familiar. I wonder who it is. So, it's Hoppelsai. That's the twist that they don't reveal until, like, the second to last dungeon. Kamusaru's right-hand man is Hoppelsai, but throughout the whole game, they refer to him as Bujin, including Genma, who is not hypnotized. It's just weird. It's like a twist for the sake of being a twist. Also, he is apparently not one of the 4 Heavenly Kings. Which, speaking of, we finally meet our second one. We didn't meet any of the other Heavenly Kings in this next continent, but on their way out, they're sailing to the continent that has the last MacGuffin on it, and they get attacked by bombs. And this is our introduction to Shuzaku, or Shujaku, or Suzaku. The patch kept changing how they spelled his name.
Oh, that's weird. Because usually they go with Suzaku, but...
Yeah, but Suzaku is, So you got the guy in the turtle suit. That's kind of themed after... It's sort of themed after Japanese mythological figure. This guy is too. He's riding on a red bird, except he's riding on it, and it's kind of like a pogo stick. Like, he's got little platforms to stand on, and a handlebar, so he's like hopping on this little robot bird like it's a pogo stick.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks really goofy. Also, he's really, like, immature, which I think that's all I wrote in the notes, because again, these are Super Nintendo villains. Most of them only exist for, like, 2 scenes. We don't really get to know them much. But this guy shoots down the boat. Rama and friends wash ashore, and this is where we get the joke of, like, here's a village that's only for women. And you could do the puzzle, but then immediately it's like, watch out for that geyser, which of course immediately shoots you, and Ranma and Moose get arrested and separated from Akane and Shampoo, which is when Ryoga wanders in. Ryoga busts them out of prison because he got lost. But yeah, Ryoga's not too happy with the fact that every time he encounters Ranma, it's like, all right, Akane got kidnapped. Like, isn't that what happened last time? No, she got kidnapped again. Sorry. But yeah, now you got a party with the 3 boys. So what you're supposed to do, you're supposed to go to a village hidden in the trees to rescue Akane and Shampoo. And then you lose Moose, which is weird, because he didn't even stick around for a full dungeon. He's around for, like, 1 overworld area and 1 town. And then you lose him before the boss fight. So you go to the town with Ranma, Ryoga, and Moose. But then Suzaku throws a bunch of bombs everywhere and Moose gets blown away. So again, why did they let me buy weapons for him? What was even the point? But after this, someone in town is like, okay, the school principal has all the kids kidnapped from Ranma school in another town. It's hidden in a big forest, and the path is blocked off, but there's a hidden path. Just head like 3 spaces east and go down, and you can go through the trees. There's an invisible path. So of course on my second playthrough, I was like, what if I go through that invisible path early? Can I go fight that boss without Shampoo and Akane? And the answer is no, because the invisible path just doesn't exist until that NPC tells you.
Makes sense. It's like you don't know it, so...
Yeah, you just bump into the tree. So again, I kept wondering what happens if you did things out of order, because they kept giving me opportunities to buy stuff for Moose, but they don't let me use him. And I kept thinking like, well, maybe if I sequence break, I can use Moose. But nope. There's weapons for Moose in the hidden forest village that you can't enter with him, because you can only enter after losing him. But they still let you buy weapons there for him.
That's so weird.
It's so weird.
And those weapons can only be used by Moose, is that correct?
Yes. Because Moose's whole gimmick is he's a concealed weapons martial artist. He is a weapons master. So his gimmick is that he can equip all weapons. Including some that are just for him. He even gets to equip the best weapon of the game. It only does like 10 points more damage than Ranma's best weapon, but it's still the best weapon and only Moose can equip it. Anyways, Moose weirdness aside, you get to this hidden village, and there's a whole sequence where you find out the principal came here to get his 2 children to protect the treasure for him, because the principal, who's also been brainwashed, is using the school student body to dig in a spot where the final MacGuffin is hidden. And Tatewaki and Kodachi Kuno are also here, and they get 1 line of dialogue.
Aww.
As in, Tatewaki Kuno is like, let's go, sister, and then the 2 of them leave and go in the dungeon. And then you go in, and then at the end of the dungeon, the principal's like, go get him, kids! And you do the double boss fight, and then you fight them.
Oh no, so they don't even like get like banter?
Nope, none at all. Kodachi's only line of dialogue is if you talk to her before triggering that cutscene, and she leaves with her brother. Otherwise, she doesn't talk in the entire game. And again, Tatewaki's only line is when his dad is like, go get ready and protect the MacGuffin. Ranma's coming. And then they get ready and they become the final boss of that dungeon. But that's it, you just fight them. And the principal, their dad, is the one that does all the dialogue, because after you beat them, he's like, oh, you've defeated me. I'm no longer brainwashed. Which, I gotta say, when you fight Moose, he's also no longer brainwashed. But not the first time you fight Moose. Only the second time does he lose the brainwashing. And then when you fight the principal, he also loses the brainwashing right away. So, I guess Ranma didn't hit Moose hard enough the first time. Let's see. I have in my notes, this is when we got some really good enemy names. I'm just gonna read some of them. We got Tai Chi Grandpa, Kung Fu Guy, and Taekwondo Kid.
Okay.
Just here comes Tai Chi Grandpa. And I'm like, okay, I like these. I like these random enemies. Now that we're getting to human enemies.
I like there's like a gradation of it. Like it starts with Taekwondo Kid, then Kung Fu Guy, then Tai Chi Grandpa.
Yeah, I like to just imagine these are all one family.
The same family.
Yeah, just goofy enemies. But yeah, then after you fight the Kuno family, you go into the next room, and then you fight Suzaku with his mystical bird pogo stick. Again, I get that it's supposed to look goofy, like it's this mystical thing, but it's just a little, like, robot thing he's riding around in. It's almost the equivalent of if he was riding around on a little clown bike. It's just very silly, which again, I guess that's a very Ranma way of doing the whole 4 Heavenly Kings thing. If you're gonna do a weird Japanese mythology RPG, this is the Ranma way to do it. But yeah, so after this, Ranma gets all 3 of the MacGuffins, and he's beaten 2 of the 4 Heavenly Kings. It feels like the game is ending.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the principal's like, well, we got the airship, we'll take you back home. Oh, but Ranma has to take the MacGuffins to this temple so they could seal away the Cat King. Okay, so they drop him off on the next continent, and then at the center of that is the main base of the Red Cat Gang. So you're being told this is where the Red Cat Gang is stationed. This is where the ritual has to be done. They built a base over it. Ranma will have to fight his way through it and defeat the Ghost Cat King. So again, it feels like it's ending. I have in my notes, in quotations, damned feline fart heads. I don't remember who says that. I also do want to point, since I'm commenting on dialogue, I don't know if you noticed, since you're not as familiar, I think this is a localization thing. Ranma and Akane are so mean to each other in this game. They feel so much harsher when they're talking to each other.
Okay, so I thought that was like intentional because I don't really know how rude they are to each other, like in the manga and anime. So I thought it was like, okay, that's just their dynamic.
It is their dynamic, but usually their language isn't so harsh. Like early in my comments, I have a quotation that's just, shut up, Akane. Because that's just what Ranma says at one point. Just shut up, Akane. Like, just being really snippy with her. And I'm like, okay, they're usually not that mean. They're usually not just straight up telling each other, like, shut up, I hate you, whatever. Just like,
yeah.
There's no dere to the tsundere here. These two just hate each other in this game. Akane too. Akane is constantly insulting Ranma when he fails at something. She's like, Ranma, what a stupid idiot. They're just so mean to each other in this game, and I don't know, it just feels like it might be a localization thing, because I know that there are definitely fans of Ranma who are very down on Akane because of how abusive her relationship with Ranma comes across as sometimes, where these two clearly hate each other. And I'm just like, I mean, that's the tsundere thing. They're not actually telling each other, like, to shut up constantly. And I hope that that's the fan translation and not the original, because it just feels a little too out of character. I don't know, it rubbed me the wrong way how much these two are constantly yelling at each other and putting each other down in this game compared to everyone else.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, so you go through this area. Now here is the last thing that really made me think that you can sequence break and get a weird party combination. Because before you enter the final area where you can go up to the main base, you get a sequence where the entire party splits up. So like, Ranma and Akane are just being really mean to each other for no reason in this 3-way split as to where to go. And then Ryoga is like, damn it, Ranma, you're always arguing, I decide where we go. And he goes one way. And Shampoo was like, I'm going this way, and leaves. And Akane's like, nice going, Ranma, the party split up because you can't make a decision, what a stupid idiot. And the whole party leaves, and then immediately afterwards, like, you get most of the party back. So my first thought was like, oh, is this where the game resets? Like, could I have potentially gotten here with like Genma and Moose? And this is the game, like, removing your party so it can be like, well, for this next sequence, you need to have Ranma, Ryoga, and Akane, or something. But it turns out no. It's just weird drama for the sake of it. I wrote down, immediate 4 skeletons, all of them kick Ranma.
Oh no.
Cause the very first, like you only get through like 1 or 2 fights with Ranma by himself. And I immediately got a random encounter with 4 skeletons that are all faster than Ranma. So they all just immediately start kicking him and almost kill him in 1 round now that he's by himself. It was very much that JoJo gif of everyone ganging up and kicking the guy. Like, as soon as Ranma's alone, here's a gang of skeletons to just jump him.
Yeah, although thankfully, Ranma does have this, like, low-key use move that just runs away, right?
Yes, but as I said, the skeletons were faster than Ranma, so I didn't get to do anything.
I mean, it's kind of like the bear thing, right? Like if you and some friends are running away from a bear, you don't need to be faster than a bear. You just need to be faster than your friends.
Yeah, and when Ranma has no other friends, he's the one that gets kicked by the bears.
I mean, he just needs to be able to act once to run away from the skeletons.
But yeah, so anyways, immediately after the full party splits up, you only have to go through one room by yourself. So one, maybe two encounters. But once you get that, then Ranma bumps into Akane again, like literally 5 seconds after splitting up, and she rejoins. So again, you could maybe understand why my assumption is that like, oh, maybe you could have gotten here with different party members, and this is where the game forces you to regain a set party. And whoever else was with you, they're the ones that split off.
Right.
But it turns out no, because you can't get here with any of the other characters. You have to do it in order, or else the invisible path in the forest just doesn't work. But that would have been a fun way to do it. That feels like a smart way to do it, of just like, well, if you did get here with Genma and Moose, that's cool and all, but we need the other characters for plot reasons. So just have a sequence where they all split up and get mad at Ranma for some reason. So, anyways, you get to the end of this cave, and then you fight, my favorite Final Fantasy characters, Fujin and Raijin.
Oh, I love them in Final Fantasy VIII.
It's just straight up these thunder gods. Again, just not even like dialogue. They're not treated as like minions to anyone. It's just like, here's more Red Cat Gang members, I guess. And again, they're all themed after Japanese mythological figures. So they're just here. They're not part of the 4 Heavenly Kings. They're just 2 guys. Also, the game is very nice because you only have Akane in your party. So Fujin and Raijin take turns. You fight one and then you fight the other. It's not a double battle like with the Kuno siblings.
Oh, that's very nice of them.
It is very nice of them. But anyways, this is when the game then reveals that Bujin, the right-hand man of the cat ghost, is Hopplesai, and he just throws some bombs and kidnaps Akane. Cause that just keeps happening. And then immediately after, Shampoo shows up. So again, I assume that this is like, well, if you didn't rescue Shampoo before, here's where she joins for real. Cause she just left like 5 seconds, right before these boss fights. But now she's back. But yeah, Shampoo was like, oh, Rama's alone, I'll help. And Rama's like, we have to rescue Akane. And Shampoo's like, I'll help, but you have to promise to go on a date with me afterwards, tee-hee. Rama's like, yeah, sure. I bet this won't lead to a very funny ending at the end of the game where this comes back. So Shampoo joins, and then you go back into the overworld where you gotta go to the base. And on your way there, you meet Ryoga, who again is like, we were separated for like 5 minutes, and Akane got kidnapped again. Ranma is a terrible hostage negotiator in this game, I must say. Also of note, I was curious if you tried to enter the base without Ryoga. I learned where like the cutscene trigger is, and I avoided it. But if you go to the base, it's like, oh no, the gate's too strong, we can't break it. Which I guess is implying that Ryoga breaks it when he is in the party, but there's no cutscene or dialogue or anything to imply that. Which is similar to the high tide, low tide thing. It's dialogue that implies something only if you try to sequence break. But if you do the intended order, it doesn't indicate that this is happening at all. But yeah, I guess Ryoga breaks the door open so that now it's Ryoga, Shampoo, and Ranma busting into the main base. And throughout here, we meet Seiryu, the leader of the 4 Heavenly Kings.
Wait, did we miss one?
Yes.
No tiger yet, right?
Not yet, no. But yeah, there's this big samurai guy, and he's a very honorable samurai because every time you complete a floor, it cuts to Akane in like a nice safe bed, and Seiryu is like, don't worry, you're safe. We're just trying to, see what we can do. That Rama kid's pretty strong, huh? I would like to fight him, typical honorable villain samurai stuff. And then you get to the end, and you find Seiryu, and he challenges Ranma to a fight for Akane, and then Genbu shows up, and it's like, no, me. And then you just fight Genbu a second time, which is like, what? But then after you beat Genbu, and Akane joins, she's like, no, Ranma, I met Seiryu, he's super strong. I saw him without a shirt off, and he has like an 8-pack or something. Oh, you need to watch out, Ranma. Like, they're building up Seiryu so much, and it's just so weird that, like, he shows up, and then the Joe character shows up to fight instead. It's like, okay, that's weird, but whatever. We got Akane here. Then you got to go through one last maze, and then at the very end of the maze, you meet Byako, who's just a lady in a cat suit. So there's your tiger. She's just there. It sounds like I'm skipping stuff, but I'm not. This is just how the game does it. Like, halfway through this giant double dungeon, you meet Seiryu, but then you don't fight him. And then you go forward, and then instead of fighting Seiryu, you fight this cat girl who is the third of the 4 heavenly kings.
Okay, Byakyu.
Yeah. Except she's just here. You just meet her. She's like, haha, I'm gonna fight you. And then you fight her. And like, when I say cat costume, I'm like, she looks like Catwoman, but it's like gray tiger themed. Like, it looks very silly. And she's just here.
Yeah.
And then you fight her. And then afterwards is when you then go up to fight Kamusaru. You finally meet the cat ghost. And this is the part where Ranma remembers he has a severe cat phobia.
Oh.
It's kind of weird that it didn't get mentioned until now, but they just have the moment where like they finally confront him, and Ranma's like, "Hey, cat, we're good. We're gonna fight you." And again, Akane's so mean. Ranma's got a serious phobia. Like, he basically got tortured by cats as a kid. That's why he's afraid of them. And Akane's just like, Ranma, man up, go fight the cat. Like, she's so rude here. But yeah, then this is when Happosai shows up, and I wrote in my notes, unclear if Happosai was brainwashed or just tricked with panties. Cause yeah, Kamusaro just kind of gives Happosai panties, and he's like, woohoo! And then you fight Happosai, and then he just leaves. He literally just leaves. He's like, well, I'm done. I got what I wanted. So I don't think he was brainwashed. But then why did he change his name? Why was he so... I don't know. It just feels weird. It feels like they just wanted to do the joke.
Maybe what happens is they brainwashed them, but they still gave him underwear.
Maybe...
as a treat.
Maybe his love of panties was so strong that it undid the brainwashing, and that's why he left. I don't know. But anyways, then you finally fight Kamusaru, the cat ghost. And this is an interesting and very difficult fight. So remember what I said about how every fight in this game is basically like 5 turns max? Like, everything is super quick. They found a way to have a really, really challenging fight. And that's by giving Kamusaru a stupid amount of HP. He is the only fight where you're like, uh-oh, I'm at like turn 6. I am out of ki. I'm running out of items. And he's still not going down. This is an actual challenging fight. I died like 3 times to him. And you have to fight Happosai too. Like, you can't save between those 2 fights. And the worst part is that, he has a move that can confuse you. So just good luck dealing with that, because I don't even remember I never bought, any status effect healing items, because they happen so infrequently. But oops, the super tough boss fight can confuse you. You're not gonna have confusion healing items, because weirdly enough, no character has status effect healing moves. None of them. They can inflict status effects, and they can heal, but none of them can cure, which is interesting. So, confusion, very powerful. Especially since, like, the first time I used the buff spell on Ranma, and then Ranma immediately got confused and punched shampoo in the face and one-shot her, and I'm like, uh-oh.
Ooh.
So yeah, there's some luck required there.
I mean, you know, just make sure to stock some what is it, slippers, I think, is the anti-confusion item.
Yeah, which I think that's cute. You're like hitting them with the slippers, like, wake up, stop it, no, bad.
Yeah, I think it's funny.
But yeah, make sure to stock up on those if you didn't have any, cause that's a very, very frustrating fight. If not, it's very luck-based otherwise. You just have to hope that he doesn't confuse the worst possible character you don't want to. But yeah, other noteworthy thing about this fight is you can't control Ranma during it because he has entered his catfish mode.
Wait, is what mode?
So you're less familiar. So to those listening who don't know, because I haven't talked much, Ranma is afraid of cats, right? The exact story in the manga for why that is Genma learned a forbidden technique for raising super powerful babies, which is tie some cat food to them and then lock them in a room with a bunch of stray cats and force them to fight their way out. And it'll make them stronger. That's how they get stronger. And that is why Ranma is afraid of cats. He was literally traumatized as a little baby boy. And they also threw in a joke there. It's like, is he really that afraid of cats? And Gemma's like, yeah, I tried everything to cure him. I tried tying fish salmon to him. I tried tying beef. I tried tying anchovies. But no matter what I tied to him, he would still lose to the cats.
Oh no.
So basically, the takeaway of that chapter is we learn that Ranma has a breaking point because it turns out the forbidden technique worked and it taught Ranma the catfish style, which is basically, as a child, Ranma learned that if you want to defeat a cat, you have to think like a cat. And whenever Ranma is so terrified, his mind just shuts down and goes into cat mode. Like, I am a cat, and just scratches and claws at everything, and he is literally invincible.
Okay.
The only downside being that he is now a cat. Ranma has lost all mental capacity. He just thinks he is a cat and will behave like one and will not remember anything. In order to wake him back up, you have to, like, pet him and nuzzle him, be like, good boy, good kitty.
Okay, that's...
Which is what Akane does.
Very normal.
Yeah, so very embarrassing. It's not a thing Ranma would want to do, especially since he has to become so terrified that his brain shuts down. But that's what happens here. You're fighting the Ghost Cat King, and Ranma triggers the catfish mode, where you cannot control him anymore. He will just mindlessly attack the cat ghost, and he'll be very powerful, but you can't control him, which is why, again, the confusion makes for things very difficult. And also, I made the mistake of being like, well, Ranma's super powerful now. If I buff him, he could probably kill the boss in like 3 turns. But then he got confused and wiped out my entire party.
Damn.
So, don't do that. Don't do that.
You should have some slippers.
Yeah, do not make Cat Ranma even more powerful. You will regret it. But yeah, after you defeat him, there's a whole thing where they just fail. Because earlier they were when they had Akane hostage, they had the whole sequence. Back when it looked like you were going to fight Seiryu, he did a hostage situation of like, drop the MacGuffins, give us the gem, the sword, and the mirror, and we'll let you have Akane. So the goal was to fight the cat ghost fast enough, but they weren't. So even though you win the fight, you were still too slow, and then he makes the wish, and then he becomes the Ghost Cat King, and is almighty and powerful, and darkness will cover the world. It's like, oh no! And then it just kind of like fades out after he shoots lightning, and Ranma wakes up in the final town, where Cologne is there. And Cologne is just like, well, Ranma, it's time to get ready for the final dungeon. Pick which party members you want.
Oh, you can pick.
And there's one final MacGuffin you can get. as we get more lore. So it turns out the hero that defeated the Ghost Cat King last time used an artifact called the Star Willow. And that's what you need to defeat the Ghost Cat King, presumably. And this time you can choose your party members. And I don't understand why you would choose anyone other than Akane, Ryoga, and Shampoo, because Genma and Moose were barely playable.
Yeah.
So they're both like 15 levels below everyone else. And I'm just like, why? I can buy the mace right there. It's Moose's strongest weapon. Only he can equip it. But he's at like level 14. Why would you do this? I want to play as the different characters. On top of that, they force you to bring Akane with you. So you technically only pick the last 2 party members.
Interesting.
Which also messed with me, cause like if I could choose, I would have brought Ranma, Ryoga, Shampoo, and Moose. Cause that's like the classic Team Ranma from the show, when they all team up against one big powerful bad guy. These are the 4 that went to fight Pantyhose Taro, for example. Those types. And also, cause I'm like, this game isn't that hard. I don't need a dedicated healer. Shampoo has weaker heals, so that's good enough.
Yeah, I noticed.
I'd rather just do more damage. Because I'm just that type of person. If there's a dedicated healer who only heals, I don't want that character. So I'd rather just go in with Shampoo instead. But since you're forced to bring Akane, well then I'm like, well then technically I don't need Shampoo, but it would be weird to bring Moose, but not Shampoo. Especially since I have to do a lot of grinding to get Moose back up. So I guess I'm just stuck with Shampoo and Ryoga. I have no choice. I don't feel like grinding the other 2 characters. It would feel weird. So yeah, it's weird that they let you pick your party. I guess if you really want to grind, you can use the other ones, but I don't know. Anyways, in this final section, there is a very easily missable dungeon, because it's the only one that is not accessible from the world map. It's in the town itself. I literally walked into the final dungeon and did 2 bosses before being like, shouldn't I be getting the Star Willow? When am I gonna do that? Because that's what Cologne said, you need to get the Star Willow so you can fight the Ghost Cat King, but I'm like in the final dungeon where they force you to refight the 4 Heavenly Kings. That's the only indicator that Byako is one of the 4 Heavenly Kings, by the way.
Okay.
Because she's in the final dungeon. Because otherwise, again, it's just some cat lady. But yeah, I fought 2 of the Heavenly Kings in their rematches, and I'm like, I still don't have the Star Willow. The plot says I can't beat the guy without the Star Willow, so I was supposed to get that before coming here. So then I doubled back and found out, oh, I thought that was the edge of the town, but the camera scrolls past that and there's a cave you can go in through there. That's the technically optional dungeon, where you go through it and then you fight Nega Ranma, cause the boss is literally you must fight yourself. So you fight copies of your party, which is neat. Somehow, despite Ryoga being like the slowest character in the game, Nega Ryoga is just super fast. And just took out like half of Rama's HP in one punch. And I'm like, okay, I guess you're making these guys tough. But yeah, once you fight your true self, you get the Star Willow, which I think it's technically optional, because all it actually does is lower the final boss's attack and defense for like 3 turns.
Oh, it's consumable?
No, you can keep using it, but he will rebuff himself. So you have to use the Star Willow again to lower his attack and defense. But that's all it does. So I'm like, hypothetically, you could probably beat it without the Star Willow. He just has a lot of HP, so it's gonna be tough. But yeah, also of note, you get like 40,000 XP from beating your shadow selves, which is like the most experience any fight in the game gives you. So like that's the only time where my entire party leveled up. Yes.
Wow.
More than any of the 4 Heavenly Kings is just a ton of experience.
Wait, do you not get experience from the final boss fight?
I don't think so, but you do have multiple bosses in the final dungeon with the Heavenly Kings. This could also be because of Genma, and Moose. I think that might be one of the reasons they have this optional boss fight in town. Anyways, in my notes, I wrote cigar smoking beetles, which are another one of my favorite enemies in this game. They're just these cockroaches, but with cigars in their mouths. They just look like gangster cockroaches or something, and they're named like Golden Beetle or something like majestic sounding, but it just looks like a cockroach with a cigar. It's very goofy. Anyways, in the final dungeon, you get 3 paths with the first 3 of the Heavenly Kings. Most of them are like, hey, I'm back, time to rematch. And that's about it. Then you get a gigantic maze, at the end of which is Seiryu, where you can finally fight him. And he gives you the last bit of exposition, where he reveals that he's actually the guy that defeated the Ghost Cat King ages ago.
Oh, he turned coat.
Dun dun dun. Yeah, so he, upon learning that the Ghost Cat King is back, is like, I have to fight him. But then he lost. And is like, well, I'm not as strong as I used to be, but maybe there's another young warrior out there who can finish what I started.
Oh.
So I'm going to let myself get possessed so that I can test the next person to come along. And again, going back to like Akane being like, no, Ranma, this guy's super strong. You can't beat him. Seiryu is like, by the way, when Kamusaru mind controls you, you get a minor attack buff, but like, I didn't get one. I'm just that strong. I'm super cool. And if you can't beat me, you can't beat him. Like, it just sounds so goofy. He's making such a big deal, like, I am so strong, Ranma. If you have to beat me, I'm testing you. That's why I'm doing it. But yeah, they're very much trying to make him intimidating. And then you defeat him, and he's like, aha, you truly are the next brave hero, Ranma. I believe in you. Go defeat the final boss. And you go to fight him, and Ranma, I didn't write it down. I said paraphrase it. In my note, I wrote down, oh right, I forgot he's a cat. Cause it's just like, yeah. Ranma's like, Ranma, you couldn't fight him last time. Cause he's a cat. What are you gonna do now? Like, they just never addressed that part. And then when you fight him, Ranma's like, nice kitty. Except this time when Akane makes fun of him, I guess that's enough to make Ranma snap out of it. Ranma has undergone the RPG hero's journey. So, this time, you get to fight the final boss with a really cool boss theme. I really liked it. You're fighting in space. It's very much an RPG final boss. And as I said, he has stupid amounts of HP, and he can still confuse you.
Oh no.
So again, I hope you brought those items.
Gotta have a bunch of slippers.
Yep.
Single-use slippers.
Yep, if you run out too bad. Also you have to regularly use the Star Willow, because he'll just rebuff himself to be super strong. So, I just had shampoo on item duty the whole time. Also here in my notes, final boss, critical hit, 2 damage. That was against Ryoga with his defense buff. Ryoga is a beast. Ryoga has very high HP and defense. That's his thing. Ryoga's a tanky boy.
Yeah, looks like it.
He was not in any danger. In fact, he was the danger, because if Ryoga gets confused,
oh yeah,
he's gonna punch someone and it's gonna hurt. But yeah. That's the final boss, and the whole big takeaway, you defeat him, and then it's revealed that, turns out he was nice all along.
Oh, was
Kamusaru is he's like, what? Where am I? What happened? I just found this pretty crystal, and it looked very nice, and then I just got these weird thoughts, or whatever. So I guess the implication is that the star crystal corrupted him. The wish makes you evil. Oops. So of course, Ranma is like, okay, but like, can we get a wish? And he's like, no, I must destroy it. but I can at least use some of the magic to do one last thing. And then this whole sequence feels like it's trying to do 3 different jokes. Because first, Kamusaro says he's gonna destroy the crystal, but then Ranma convinces him to use just do a tiny wish, not even a big one. Surely that won't be a problem. Then Hopplesai shows up for some reason, and I'm like, is a Hopplesai gonna pull an oolong?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Kamusaro says you get 1 small wish, and then immediately Hopplesai shows up, but then it turns out he's just here to be a distraction. Because he's like, wait, hold on, Ranma. I've come to get revenge, because you humiliated me. Now let's have a rematch. And Ranma's like, not now. We need to do this before we go home. That's when Kamusaro's like, oh, you want to go home? Yeah, I could do that. Magical Star Wish, send them home. It's like, no!
That's a good one.
And then we just get the final scene. Everyone's back home, good as new. It's redoing the intro scene where Akane wakes Ranma up. They get in another fight. Ranma's like, I'm still upset I didn't get to make the wish. And Akane, again, they're just so mean to each other. Akane's just like, are you still whining about that? Get over it. Just doesn't care. And this is when Shampoo comes in as like, okay, I'm here for my date. Because Ranma did promise Shampoo he'd go on a date with her if she helped him save Akane. So we get the typical joke montage of Ranma running away from angry Akane, and then Shampoo's chasing after them to get her date, and then the credits roll, and that's the end of the game. It's about as traditional and silly as you could hope. They got some good jokes in, but is it worth playing? Probably not. Especially if you've listened to this whole thing. And that's Ranma and the Treasure of the Red Cat Gang. The only, like, traditional RPG in Ranma. And that's that. So, I don't know. You've played enough of it that I'm pretty sure you're aware of all its faults. And now you know the plot and all the very traditional stuff it does. What are your thoughts?
I think it's a shame that there wasn't a good Ranma RPG, because this game does show that it could be done well, just that it wasn't done well.
Yeah, when I found out this existed, my initial thought was that, like, Ranma feels like a weird but very interesting IP to do a traditional JRPG with. Because in my head, like, when you look it up, most of the screenshots are from, like, the first 30 minutes, when they're still in Tokyo.
Yeah.
So, like, you look at that, and that's what you picture. You are picturing... What you're picturing probably feels closer to Paper Mario than Final Fantasy. You're picturing a very goofy, silly, like, Earthbound-esque RPG set in modern-day Japan, as opposed to Ranma getting isekai'd and fighting the 4 heavenly kings to get the magical Japanese artifacts.
Yeah. Because, like, one thing that I do know is that for Inuyasha, they made, like, a PlayStation 2 RPG. I'm bringing it back to that, but basically, that RPG was, from what I understand, not very good, but, like, better than this one, than the Ranma one, I guess. So it's like, I guess the reason why it never happened later is because it kind of, like, fell out of the public knowledge. Like,
Yeah.
in 2002, people weren't thinking about Ranma 1/2 anymore. They were thinking about Inuyasha.
The last Ranma game was on the PS1. By that point,
Yeah.
this was the last chance you really get Ranma in a video game. And I didn't even know that Inuyasha got an RPG. I only knew it had fighting games.
I think it got a couple.
Yeah, it is fun to learn about these, because hell, I didn't know about most of the Ranma games until I checked them out. I didn't know there was a weird falling block puzzle game. So it makes sense that there was a SNES RPG, but like, yeah, it definitely felt kind of phoned in, which I guess was the style at the time.
Yeah.
There were a lot of generic tie-in games and a lot of generic RPGs, and this was both of them. But the promise of a Ranma RPG that makes full use of its setting, that still sounds interesting. I bet they could have done something with that. especially if they did interesting things like what this does with its key system, where you have to constantly micromanage them in between fights. But yeah, you played what is, I don't know, there's always the question of what offends you more, something that is genuinely terrible or something that's just kind of bland and inoffensive. For some people, the latter is way worse. It's worse when it's boring. And this game
Yeah.
has a lot of very boring decisions in it. So I can
Yeah.
tell I could tell some people might hate this even more, whereas you might get someone like me who's like, this is way better than some of the like actual terrible schlock I played. So I'm putting this high up on the list of Ranma games. But like, yeah, I suppose that's what you get for most licensed tie-in games. It's a miracle that Ranma got something this playable and this competent, so I'm a lot more forgiving for it.
Yeah, no, I mean, the thing is, this is not a very good game because it is boring more than because it is bad.
Yeah.
Like you said.
It doesn't do much interesting.
It doesn't do much interesting, and it's like, you can imagine very easily a good RPG from that era about Ranma 1/2. But that's not what we got. We got something a bit more lazy, I would say.
Yeah. And even if, like, something like the Four Heavenly Kings, again, they're still very goofy versions of this trope. And there are lots of Ranma characters that are just goofy versions of, like, mythical Japanese or Chinese figures. So they're not even that original on that department. But, like, you could have potentially made, like, a weird schlocky movie out of something like that. It's not the worst gimmick to theme around your RPG, but it is very much just there because it's an RPG and because they're just doing the generic RPG thing. They would have never thought of this if they were making a movie or an OAV or something like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I hope you at least had enough fun with this, even if it wasn't the best game in the world. I still think it's interesting to learn about these, and especially if you compare it to other licensed tie-in games. There were definitely better. There were probably also way worse. Ranma's just kind of middle of the road. It is just kind of interesting that, like, in the middle of all these fighting games and weird visual novels and adventure games, they put out a very bare-boned traditional RPG. And that's what a fascinating decision to do with this IP.
Yeah. Like I'm checking like the page on the Ranma video games, and like there's one on the Game Boy that's like an Adventures of Lolo like pushing blocks and breaking blocks around a maze-like environment, and I'm like,
yeah,
that's not Ranma core.
No, but it is very, like, early Game Boy core.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's some weird stuff there. And I guess compared to that, this game is weird for being so unweird.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, but regardless, we still need to cover it. It is still one of the few things that most people can just pick up and play. If anyone is curious, again, I've got my DS right here, like, loaded up with, like, 30 obscure RPGs. And I like that, because one of these days, I'm gonna try some of them. And I love just trying out schlocky, trashy RPGs. That's my thing. So this was a fun experience for me. Maybe not fun enough to justify doing it twice. But at least I learned a few things the second time around. And yeah, I think it's good for people to do stuff like that, to just sort of explore whatever weird stuff. If you just want to play the best games out there, that's not bad. But, like, discovering weird stuff is always going to be more fun to me. So I'm glad this podcast has led me to discover this. And I hope that was a decent enough experience for those of you listening.
Yeah, I mean, if nothing else, it's making me want to pop out my Inuyasha RPG and try that one again. I own it. I gave it a try when I got it, and then didn't keep playing for some reason. And now I'm wondering if it's better than this.
there's some absolute trash on the PS2. So who knows?
Yeah.
It could be better than this. It could also be way worse. But
Yeah.
if it's better, that sounds like a fun experience. Inuyasha was fun.
Yeah. If I recall correctly, this game had like double text and triple text, kind of like in Chrono Trigger, but like with Inuyasha characters.
Oh.
And you play as basically an OC that can be a girl or a boy. Like someone from Kagome's class, apparently. Like literally, it's like someone from Kagome's class ends up in feudal Japan with Kagome. And Inuyasha
That is so
and, like,
weird.
joins the gang.
I was about to say, Inuyasha already has its RPG party built into the narrative.
Yeah, pretty much. And it also had, like, original animation, like, anime sequences for the new character, like, arriving into feudal Japan, and, like, for some story cutscenes, I think. Like, they put a lot of effort into that one.
And that was probably good, because usually the ones that don't have effort put into it are not the type to do 2D animated scenes. They're the ones that have the weird early PS2 3D.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound like this is one of those.
No, and if I recall correctly, this one has also some really gorgeous pre-rendered backgrounds. It's like, it's comparable to Baton Kaitos on the GameCube, if you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah, that sounds great.
Like, it's got like similar level of graphics for the backgrounds, but instead of being like 3D style, they're like more like painted style, if I recall correctly. It looks pretty cool.
All right. I recall at one point saying that, like, my goal isn't to get people to watch or read Ranma 1/2, but rather to let my experiences with Ranma inspire people to explore their own weird niche thing. So, if this episode inspires people to try out the Inuyasha RPG, then I think we did a job well done.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, that sounds like a good place to end it then. In which case, where can we find you? Anything you'd like to promote, Pixel?
Yeah, you can find me on Blue Sky at pixelbismuth, all one word, .ca. I also have a personal site where you can find all my stuff. That is pixelbismuth.ca as well. Pixelbismuth.itch.io for my games. I made at least one TTRPG. That's I think it's pretty cool. I would think that Edgy agrees because Edgy was literally like one of the playtesters.
Yeah. I've also seen you throw out ideas for future stuff that you might work on. So if you're listening to this in the future, there might be more projects on that list.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that sounds great. I've tried to remember to let people know this podcast does have an email. I've told the story. I am now officially attached to that email forever. Google now thinks I am Ranma. So if anyone has questions or things you'd like to learn about or hear discussed on Ranma, on the Ranma podcast, you can submit that to ranmapodcast@gmail.com. Who knows? I might get a question and be able to read it on the podcast. That sounds exciting.
I love that you are the Ranma podcast by now. Like, the Ranma podcast. There's no other podcast about Ranma than you.
Yes. The weird stuff where Google, like, fused my account with the Ranma podcast email was frustrating because there was an option for me to separate that and and move my stuff to a new account, but it would remove, like, it would erase Ranma podcast as a usable Gmail. And I'm like, well, I can't lose that. I'm the Ranma podcast. First name Ranma, last name podcast. And whenever I think of, like, how long am I going to be using Google services for the rest of my life, I'm like, oh no. Isn't that exciting? But anyways, I hope everyone had fun. I hope I inspired people to check out obscure RPGs of any kind. You never know. You might run into a dud. You might run into a Tai Chi grandpa. It could be the best experience of your life. You just gotta go out there and try. So, check it out, folks. Whatever it is. And who knows, when you get older, they might change what it is. But you will find it. Take care, everyone.
Bye.